you guys can share as well if you wanted to share your screen and ever like show a photo that you've taken or something like that. Maybe next time I'll have to show some of my favorites from the different enrichment projects that you guys have turned in, because there have been so many good ones. Oh my gosh, like I can't even count. So awesome. So like everyone that turned something in, they took it seriously and they did something really cool, which you didn't have to do, but it's great to see that you guys are still being creative and enjoying your photography. Okay, so opening up Photoshop. This is a photograph I took of one of my friends, and there are a couple of correction tools that I can show you how to use in order to maybe clean up some of these lines that aren't meant to be there, like the hair and everything. And then we'll make it look like an old-time photo. So one of the first correction tools that I go to is the spot heel brush here. Now I try and make it smaller. The size of it is up here at the top in this brush preset picker. But you can also use the left and right bracket keys to make your brushes bigger. And I don't know if you can see it, but here's the layers menu over here. So I always try and start by making a copy of the background layer. So since I did that already, I'm going to show you how I did that. So drag it down to the copy layer button, and now I'm safe. Whatever I change on this layer, I can always go back and you know, get the original layer back. Okay, so with this spot heel brush tool, I'm just going to see how it works. Photoshop has several correction tools, and you just kind of have to play with it and see which one is best for the job that you have. That did a pretty good job. I just clicked and dragged, and if I zoom in, you can kind of tell that there was something there, but it's better than before. So if I just kind of, it might even work better instead of dragging if you just click on the spots, and you can see it just, it's almost like an eraser. It's just getting rid of that blemish, that hair that doesn't seem to belong. All right. And my dog is whining. What do you want? Okay, so I click and drag. There's just a lot of little extra pieces around, and you're not really going to see these from far away, but I just know that you can zoom in on a photo, so usually it's best to clean it up at least a little bit. Has anyone tried editing any photos lately? Anything you've discovered?
Yeah, I actually tried editing like this picture of like two apples. One was like red and green, but it looked a bit too similar, and I wanted to make like the difference more noticeable. So I
like the saturation?
Yeah.
And it worked?
Yeah.
Good.
I'll send it in for this week, maybe enrichment.
That'd be great. Okay, that looks pretty good, right? We're not going to be perfectionists here. No time for perfectionism. Okay, so that's one correction tool. You can also correct using the clone stamp tool. We haven't looked a lot at that. I probably should have saved some of the areas for that tool. Let's see. Like, for example, down here, there's like a hair. If I wanted to do something more custom, like where I choose the spot that it is painting from, so I click on this clone stamp. So I know I want to paint this with the color behind it. So I'm going to hold Option first, click, and now I can paint with that color. And you can see the crosshairs of where the little plus sign is, where it's borrowing pixels from. So that's just what the clone stamp does. You can see it really obviously if I like hold Option, click on her eye, and then paint down here. You can see it's borrowing the pixels from her eyeball, and now she has too many eyes. So
weird. Okay.
Yeah, this is just showing what it does. So that's the clone stamp. It's like cloning from one area to another. So you can have fun with this. You can make someone look like an alien and have like 5 eyes or something like that. I'm going to do Command Z, edit, undo, and it goes back in time. Okay, so now we're ready to add our, well, almost. So before we add our old-timey photograph, I wanted to show you the dodge and burn tools. So this right here is the burn tool, and I may have shown it before just briefly, but what it does is it darkens certain areas. So if I want to, for example, darken her hair over here, I might increase the exposure a little bit. It's set to affect mid-tones, which is what I want. And then you can see I'm just, it's called burning. It's like a burning tool. So it's making it darker. So that might come in handy if you're like contouring someone's face. The dodge tool does just the opposite. So it's going to lighten. So it adds more highlights to her hair. We might want that higher bit of contrast just in certain areas. So it works with a brush. Okay, so I have this other photo here that I've found online. You can use photos from online if you search for the right usage. So you have to go to like more or tools, more, and then usage rights, and then just choose the one that says is labeled free reuse. So that means anybody can use this, it's just free. The other option would be to crumple up your own paper and take a picture of that. Okay, so I'm going to select all, Command A, and I have my marching ants, and I'm gonna go up to edit copy and edit paste, or not edit paste. I have to go to the other photo and then choose edit paste. Okay, so it's kind of smaller, doesn't cover her whole face. I like to keep my layers organized by titling them. So this is texture. And I can move it around. Command, doesn't even remember how to make something bigger or smaller? All right, so if I go to edit and then go down to free transform, I can just hold shift. It doesn't really matter since this is texture, it doesn't have to be the same proportion. So I'm just gonna make it fit. And it looks a little pixelated. You can see it's, the pixels look very large. It's just a preview. So if I hit enter, it'll render the right size. Okay, so now I need to make this texture a little see-through, so I can do that in different ways. I can either go up to where it says opacity and lower the opacity of my picture, or I can add what's called a blending mode. So these are really effective at merging the two layers together. So the first category darkens where they overlap. So you can see like linear burn is very dark. The next category lightens where they overlap. And then you can always like, you know, start from there and then lower the opacity if you want to, or add more than one, make a copy of that layer. And then I like overlay a lot. That's usually my favorite, but it just depends on the pictures that you're combining. This one looks pretty good. So it looks tattered, old. We're kind of going for that noisy look, like it has film grain. This one, these are the opposite. So like the, ooh, that's kind of pretty. You can get very artistic with these blending modes. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the, I liked multiply a lot, and then I might lower the fill just a little bit. There, so it has just a subtle overlay of that textured effect. Now I'm going to hide this for now and go back to my original photo. I like how it's a little blurry in the background, but you might want to do a vignette with your blur. So that means you have a circle around what you want in focus, and then the background will be out of focus. So to do this, we have to have two of these background copies. And this one here is going to be out of focus. So I'm going to call it that. And let's just add some blur. Does anybody remember how to add blur? Yeah, more or less, somewhat. So under filter, go down to blur, and then we're going to add Gaussian blur. You can also use lens blur, those both work. And you can see my preview here of what that's going to look like. So you want it to be noticeable. Oh. Click OK. Okay, so now you can see the difference between these two layers. I'm going to click on this layer here, and this is the one that's in focus. So I'm just going to call it focus. And this is a neat effect to try on portraits especially. So clicking with my elliptical marquee tool. That is the circle that allows you to select in a circle or an oval. And I'm just gonna select basically what I want, which is her face. And then I'm going to go up to the top and click on select and mask. So this is my options bar up here. The options change with each tool. So with a selection tool, I can select and mask, add a feather amount. So we can see the red part is what's left out of the selection. And that looks pretty good. I'm gonna click OK. And now watch what happens. I'm gonna go to the bottom of the layers panel and click mask. So when I add a layer mask, it's going to hide everything that's outside of my selection. So all I'm gonna see from this layer is her face. So I'm gonna click layer mask, and now you can see that blurred effect. Ooh, look how lovely that is, where we really hyper focus on her features. And we could do that even more, like go the next step above by like maybe selecting just her eyes and putting them on a new layer and then blurring her face or something like that. But for today, we'll just add the blur in the background. Okay, let's turn on our texture layer so we can kind of see what we have so far. That does look very old-timey.
Indiana Jones.
What is it?
Indiana Jones, sort of.
Yeah, almost like a movie poster or something, like from the Wild Wild West. I like that the colors are still there. You could go back and like desaturate the colors a little bit if you want to go to the adjustments and click on hue saturation. So maybe I'll take away some of that color if you want it, yeah, to look more old-fashioned. Maybe brighten it a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if that's worse or better. I can't tell. It's an aesthetic choice. It's all up to your... Oh, I'm adding some contrast now. Yeah, so usually there's somewhat of a higher contrast on older photos just because all the grays and the places in between have sort of faded. So yeah, that looks like an old-timey photo to me. If you wanted to add a signature, I've shown some photos before with my signature at the bottom. It's pretty easy to do, and it's kind of neat to make it into a brush. So I wanted to show how to do that real quick, and then we can call it a day. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is add a text layer. So I just click with my text tool. And I'm just going to make up like a company name, Warner Photo. Now, maybe I want this to be more of like a scripted look. So I can go up to the top. I can move this out of the way. And choose a better font. Let's see, what font should I choose?
Comic Sans.
That's okay, sounds good. Oh my goodness, why is this so difficult? I'm trying to move the... Well, okay, I guess we're just gonna have to choose from the bottom half of this. We'll just do this. Okay, Command T, maybe make it a little bit bigger. Okay, that's gonna be my signature. Now I need to rasterize this, which means make it from a text into a photo. So I won't be able to go back and edit it. So you have to make sure there's no spelling errors. So if I right click on the layer, I can rasterize type. So now this is just an image. If I hide everything else, you can see what's there. So it's just this. Now I can select that, and this is pretty cool. So I'm gonna tell the computer, okay, I want this, the pixels on this layer. And I'm gonna go up to Edit, Define Brush Preset, and shows it right there, Warner Photo, and then I'm just gonna call it Signature 1. Maybe I have more than one signature. And then click OK. So now it's a brush. It's loaded. You can see it's loaded in my brush, and I can click. And the more I click, the darker it gets. I can paint with it. So that's pretty cool. That's how you can make your name into a signature. And you can change the color. really easy. You can make an artwork out of just the letter or just the signature. Okay, so it's a new color here. Yeah. Any questions? No questions? Okay, cool, guys. Well, that's all I had for you today. Keep in mind, you can always send me an email at any time. I'll be around.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah, have a great week.
Thank
Bye.
you.
See you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hey.